What up, y'all? It is Friday, November 21st, and I did take a pretty big L on Wednesday, caused me to, pretty much chill for the rest of the week. I wasn't trading the rest of this week. I want to kind of go over like what my trade thesis was on Wednesday, why I took that trade and why I was so heavy. Normally my L's are between 100 to 130 bucks. Really, most of my L's are like the planned L's. I planned them for 200, but they end up just being a little lighter just because that's how the trades ended up playing out. But I normally size for $200 L's, but today, or on Wednesday, I was risking $400 on that trade. And it was really just because it was a high conviction trade, right? I had this trade planned out. I had the thesis kind of planned out since last week, which is how you guys should be trading realistically. Um, normally your trades might take 2, 3, maybe even 4 days to set up, and those are the trades that have the highest probability, right? So I did go heavier on it. I had a lot of conviction in it, and I'm going to kind of go over why I had so much conviction. So obviously, you guys already know I trade ICC, which is the indication, correction, continuation, right? That's the strategy. It's a very simple strategy. It has a high win rate, but like any trading strategy, it of course can fail. So basically, all I do is buy above pivot highs, basically betting for price to go up, and then sell below pivot lows, betting for price to go down. So essentially, right here at this key level, this is a very key level, right? Because we have a pivot, right? A pivot high. It's not a very strong pivot high, but at the same time, it is a strong pivot low, right? Because this price action is pushing up aggressively. So we went up about $70 from this low, right? I wasn't targeting this level because I wanted to target this level of stronger buyers because we went up from 108 all the way to 248 within just like about 12 to 24 hours. And this happened on November 12th. So very strong price action here, right? Very strong level of buyers. I was very, very interested in taking this back up to these levels, right? I'm not going to target all the way up here because I'm only holding 2 contracts in this trade. So planned on taking my first scale at this pivot low, second scale at this pivot high, all right? And then I'll be done for the trade. Good trade thesis. But anyways, so my entry is above these pivot lows, all right? Above these pivot lows where the strong buyers step in, and it's also above this pivot high, all right? This is the pivot high that I'm buying above, and these are the pivot lows that I'm buying above, right? To take price back to these levels up here. So these are my key levels of interest. These are my 2 scale points. Just so you guys have a good idea of like why I'm getting in and why I'm scaling at these levels. Cool. So $400 of risk with this tight stop. So this would run $800 profit by this level, and then about $1,200 to $1,500 profit at this level because I would have scaled out of 1 contract. Easy peasy. But why didn't it work out? So not every trade that fails is your fault. I don't believe I did anything wrong on this trade. The only thing I guess I could have done better is maybe taking Nvidia earnings into account. Um, Nvidia earnings, however, isn't really the biggest deal when it comes to gold. So that in itself could be, not really a much of a mistake because Nvidia earnings normally affects more of the indices, affects Nasdaq and the S&P 500, but not really too much on gold from my experience. So, anyways, let's kind of get this thing pushing. So, in the pre-market, we end up pushing up into my level. This is still during pre-market. This is when just about when I get my entry. I get my entry around this time. Trade is doing fairly well. A little bit of rejections, but overall, we are moving in the right direction. We are moving towards my first TP. Then we just get a drop. Again, not worried about it. It is approaching my stop, but hasn't hit it yet. The next thing you know, I get stopped out. So around 10 o'clock, 30 minutes into the trade, give or take, I get stopped out. Very, very, very unfortunate. It's $400 L. most of my profits for last week in one trade just gone like that. But at the same time, I understand this is how trading goes. Like, it's not really the biggest deal in the world. No one losing trade defines you as a trader. And once you kind of realize that, then it's easier to become profitable and stay profitable. But anyways, basically when that didn't work out, I kind of was just trying to find a reason why it didn't, but after kind of looking into it more, realized that there was nothing I did wrong on that trade. Um so my thesis, the bottom line on on this trade and why I still believe it was an A plus entry is because 9 times out of 10, right? If you guys look at price action in the history, whenever we do get candle closure above a pivot high on an uptrend, obviously, that will trigger strong price action to the upside using these pivot highs right here at 4,050 and waiting for candle closure above that level. You could use these targets. So that would actually be pretty good. That wouldn't be bad. So how you would know to take this trade is you're trading above this pivot low, all right? Above this pivot low, and you're trading above this pivot high. So here's the pivot low, here's the pivot high. You take price action above that level, and you expect a push up into these key levels here. It's very simple. It's a simple strategy. Again, it has a very high win rate. Um, those are the only setups I should be taking last week. I think you guys, if you watched my previous video, I did break one of my rules last week. I did end up taking a small scalp entry, and it won. It was a good trade. However, it wasn't in my system, caused a little bit of a snowball effect, and then I ended up deviating from my system on Monday again. No, on Tuesday again. I deviated from my system on Tuesday. If you look here, you can see this trade was not within my system. Monday's trade, perfect entry, perfect execution, just ended up not working out. The timing was off. You guys can watch that video as well. It was Monday, November 17th when I made that video going over how to calculate your entries. So basically, 2 losing trades this week that were within my system, but 4 winning trades last week that were within my system, and then this trade was completely out of my system, ended up taking that L unnecessarily. So, with that being said, guys, that's pretty much all I got for you today. Pretty simple video. Just want to continue to show you guys the journey of growing a small account. Again, the goal for this channel is not to show you big numbers. The goal for this channel is to show you that it's possible to grow a small account as a beginner trader. I've been trading for about 9 months now, so I know what it feels like to go through all the struggles that you're going through starting out. And I want to show you how quickly you can become profitable if you just stick to your rules, right? Even again, I'm messing up. I didn't stick to my rules on Tuesday. However, I am going back to a strict trading regimen and I'm going to stick to every single one of my rules and I will show you how to become profitable doing that even on a small account. A lot of these guys, a lot of these gurus are showing you how to become profitable, but they're using, 200K, 300K, $1 million account size that you can't really relate with. So it's a little harder to grow an account if you don't necessarily relate with the way that they're trading in the sense of a dollar amount or account size. So um that's the reason why I wanted to make this channel and really show you guys that it's possible to do that. So with that being said, guys, that's pretty much all I got for you today. See you next week.